In our digital era, technology significantly impacts negotiation strategies. Data analytics empower us to identify patterns and risks, leading to informed, strategic decisions. AI-powered tools like chatbots streamline tasks, paving the way for more strategic negotiation approaches. Virtual meetings and video conferencing are now integral to negotiation, requiring adaptability and precision in digital interactions. Artificial intelligence is redefining negotiation, offering personalized and automated solutions. This technology enhances negotiation skills and strategies. In technology contract negotiations, leveraging information is key. Creating competitive environments and using AI insights help in gaining leverage. Understanding these contracts' complexities is crucial for effective negotiation outcomes. As we navigate this technological shift, our negotiation methods must evolve. Leveraging technology in negotiations is about reimagining our approach to communication, decision-making, and strategy in a fast-paced digital world. Yeah, this one's really interesting because I think with the spotlight being on big data and artificial intelligence, I'm wondering how that can enhance negotiation strategies. Everold, I know that you use technology. It plays an important role in your approach to sales and marketing. Can you talk about that?
Well, absolutely. Especially in recent times, we've had to make really big shifts with trying to utilize technology more and a bit of AI in our approach, simply to, I think, be a bit more guided as to make sure that we understand what's really going on, or that we have caught up, or we are, along the same lines, because things are moving so fast. So even some of the reps at the office, I noticed they'll literally have it on their phone and they'll be Googling a question that a client might ask to see what the likely response is that they should give. This is our newer, less experienced reps, because they want to be prepared and they're scared not to have the right answer. But other than that, we don't see it a lot more in depth, other than people doing a bit of research on what's out there, what's available, and how they should approach negotiating, and where they should go to get the best deal and the best experience.
Well, I know that you're using the customer database to really empower yourself as a salesperson to look up like who has leases that are coming up.
And that's something that I basically took apart and dissected myself and created my own system within the system, because even though they had this huge database available, the dealerships and from managers all the way down to reps were not very familiar with using it. So I basically sought out the help and learned the basics, and then I fully engulfed in it. Now I teach it to others. As to how to identify opportunities, and that's what has really propelled my career over the last 10 years. And it is also, I created a course now, the Lease Performance Blueprint, as a result of my learnings for the last 10 years, and that is also why I have to negotiate less with prospects or clients, because there's a system that I roll them into from car number 1, so that by the time I'm at car number 3, 4, 5, 6, they pretty much know what to expect.
Ryan, in your experience, how is technology changing the landscape of sales and negotiation?
Gosh, if you think about what's available from an information standpoint on the internet these days compared to where we were 10 or 15 years ago, your customer, if they care enough to do any research, know as much about your product and your pricing as you do, because it takes a 5-minute internet search to figure out everything there is to know about whatever it is they're going to buy. So I think you're getting a much more educated consumer coming in to purchase whatever the product is, just because there's so much information available, including boards on people who have already bought the product and what they thought of it and what they thought of the dealers or whatever. Even in the field of real estate, when I buy properties, the first thing I do is go to Zillow not to look at their Zillow price, but to look at what they bought that property for and how long ago, right? So I know if they're selling the property, I've got one right here local, they want 1.8 million. I know they bought it last year for 900,000. Well, that affects my offer greatly. And that is information that I would not have had 5 or 6 years ago that I now have that I can use as a tool in my negotiation. So the availability of information is making the consumer so educated today that it makes it much more difficult to get into a negotiation when they already know what the deal is. So information is amazing.
So from the salesman's perspective, if the buyer is more informed, more sophisticated, what's the onus what's the responsibility of the salesperson to make that a pleasant experience and to get the deal done?
If you're an order taker, you're in trouble,
Yeah.
right? So this is all about what we call active listening and connective response. So making a connection with your client makes them like you, makes them trust you, makes you feel like makes them think you're a professional, you're looking out for their best interests. You make that connection. People buy from who they want. People buy from who they want, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to come across as that professional person who they has a likability and trustability. And that's the difference between you getting the deal and them going down the street and doing it from somebody else. You can't be an order taker anymore, not with the information that's out there.
Yeah, we have to be prepared too to dissect some of the information that the clients are coming in with. They get a lot of information, and sometimes within the same family, 2 or 3 people have different sources of information, and some of it is conflicting. So sometimes, from our perspective, it's not the exact same model that they're comparing. It's not the same deal structure. They'll see a payment and they'll say, "See, it's that payment. It's $500 a month. How come yours is $700 a month?" And they're not dissecting the fine print. They're not dissecting the structure. So they still need us to kind of guide them through that. And for me, it makes it pretty simple. If they come in with this ammunition and they think that they're convinced about what they see, oftentimes I know they don't understand clearly the full details, and it's my job to basically now say, okay, here's what this means, and here's how this is structured. Here's how what I've put together actually is more beneficial than what you see there.
Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, I think Brian talked about this earlier about having a lot of information before you go into a negotiation. For me, with buying investment properties, sometimes I'll do different types of advertising, like direct mailers or email blasts or stuff like that, and then I'm getting calls from people that are thinking about selling me the property, and I don't usually take those calls. I like it to go to voicemail so I can call back, and most salesmen wouldn't want to do that. But I quickly, from the phone number, I can figure out which property it is. I can look that person up. I can see how many properties they own. I can see that they have mortgages. I could maybe see bankruptcies. Like I could see liens on the house. So many things, what they bought it for, how many years ago, as Brian talked about earlier. And I call them back, and 3 or 4 minutes after they called, they answer, and I'm fully prepared. I'm fully prepared, and I know maybe that, their situation is more dire, or I happen to know that they probably have no intention of selling it to me for a good price. I don't have to waste too much time on it. So from that perspective, technology is very useful to the person who has it, who knows how to use it, I should say.
I mean, preparation, I think the evolution of the technology that's at our fingertips today leaves no one any excuses not to be prepared, to deal with their clients, whether you're purchasing or leasing or selling a product or service. I think it allows us all the tools we need to be prepared, because as Brian said, we know that the clients are coming in fully armed and educated already. So
it's interesting that we live in this world where information is so abundant that the challenge is actually that there's too much information sometimes, and we need to filter like what is really useful. And then there's this dichotomy of you still need to be of service to the customer. You need that human element. Do you guys think that we can reach a point where a potential buyer is just interacting with a chatbot and the chatbot can service them adequately?
There's certainly companies out there that are trying that now, for sure.
We have
Customer
that now.
service is terrible, though.
We have a little bit of it now, but the chats are they're answered by a rep, and then it's passed on to our sales reps if it's during regular business hours. But you find you can only get to a certain point with that. I always get to a certain point, and I'm like, okay, enough of this. Give me your email or what's your phone number, and in 5 minutes you can accomplish so much more than going back and forth for 20 minutes on a phone. So I like the fact that it generates leads. That's the main advantage for us, is that the chats will come in, or the e-leads, or we call them rapid responses. So they come from all different avenues. We welcome the leads, because wherever they're coming from, there's a live person on the other side. There's a prospect. But I teach the team to quickly make contact, establish a bit of rapport, but then quickly try to move them over to a phone or email, so that you can make a more genuine connection. I think there's so much more value in having a direct, meaningful conversation with a person.
That's the perfect segue to our final segment.